Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a video I didn't know if I wanted to make, but then as I was thinking about it, I've decided I am, just because I don't have any idea how it's gonna turn out. So in this video, we are going to, you are going to be watching me reading Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. So just to kind of give you an idea, I like romances. I don't really think I've ever read a dark romance because I think that's what this is categorized as. And I'm also a person who likes happy stories, and I don't really like MMCs that are like aggressive or possessive or anything like that. And I wanted to read this because I've heard it's a really good book from some people, but the thing that I'm concerned about is there is a important note about the stuff that goes on in here, and there are some triggers that I'm concerned that I'm not going to be able to handle or like to read about. So it has like graphic violence, it has stalking, child sacrifice, and other stuff that I don't know how I'm gonna be able to handle. I do like the very last sentence of this important note. It has your mental health matters. So it's kind of like put your mental health first before you go into reading this, and take a step back if you aren't going to enjoy it. So we're going to try it. I'm going to record me trying to read this, seeing kind of what my initial thoughts are, and hopefully by the end of this video I will be able to read the entire book, but I will let you know if I have to DNF it and at what point I had to DNF it and why, if it comes to that point. So if you would be interested to see how I handle this book given the type of person and the type of books that I like to read, then go ahead and keep watching. Let's see what happens. Alright guys, we are in my car. This is the first time I've had a chance to sit down and really read today. My daughter is in a appointment, and I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me over the air conditioner because it is hot and I gotta have my air conditioning running. So hopefully you can hear me. So we are going to take this time and read some of Hunting Adeline. And hopefully it's not miserable. So I'll let you know what I think as time goes on, and yeah, let's get to it. Okay, I'm on page 22, and some dude is getting tortured. I'm only 5% in. Well, it looks like the guy deserved it. Okay, so I am now on chapter 16, and if anybody who has heard about this book knows that there is a gun situation that happens, and that happened in chapter 16. I don't know how I feel. I feel confused because he had just a couple of chapters before broken people out, or these young kids, out of a trafficking situation in which they were violated and a lot of bad things were happening to them. He does the same thing to Addie that all of these traffickers were doing, and he's okay with it. So I know this is probably like what they consider like morally gray. Like, he's a bad guy, but then he's also a good guy. Like, he does the same things as I'm confused. This is definitely not a MMC that I am familiar with, like his reasonings and why he's doing the things that he's doing. So there's that. Curious how this is going to go forward and how it's going to escalate. But yeah, I have not DNF'd it yet. The gun thing was kind of weird. It kind of left me confused, but we'll see how the rest of the book progresses, and if I have thoughts. I'm sure I will have thoughts, and I will let you know my thoughts as they come up. So we're gonna get back to reading. Okay, I have been reading Haunting Adeline for about a full day now. It's been about 24 hours. And I am so I didn't record last night because it was like midnight and I was still reading and I couldn't stop. So last night it was about 85% is where I was. And like Zayd and Addie are like kind of a couple, maybe, sort of, in their twisted little weird situation. So that was where I was yesterday. Today I'm at 91% because I read a little bit this morning and during lunch. And Zayd has now been invited to a dinner with Dan, I think his name is, Daniel, who is another horrible human being, and he has just gotten there and they just walked in a little girl who is no older than 6 to the dinner, and like the dinner table has no like centerpieces or anything. It's just bare, so you can only imagine what's about to go there. And I don't like that because my daughter is 6, almost 6. She'll be turning 6 in like 2 weeks. So knowing that they have a child the same age as my youngest doesn't sit well with me. And this is what I was so luckily all of like the triggers, I don't want to say because I don't know if YouTube is gonna like it or not, but all of the triggers that I was concerned about regarding children have not really shown up. Like they've been talked about, but not like within the story, like actually happening to Zayd. So it's been okay. Like they've been talked about it, and like the situation that is going on has been discussed, but it hasn't been like graphic. And so I'm concerned. I'm at 90, like I said, 91%. And Daniel just said, ladies and gentlemen, dinner is served as soon as the little girl walks out. So I've only got like 10% left, which is about 50 pages, 60 pages, because I think this book is like 580 pages. So I think I only have about 60 pages left. And I know, so I have feelings. Let's talk about them. Let's talk. So Zayd is, while he's a very confusing, disturbing person, because he is able to stalk Addie and kind of force himself on Addie, and that's okay to him because he loves her, but yet he's all against what other people are doing to people, like women in the same situation. So it's kind of twisted in his mind, which I don't really like, but he is trying to do a lot of good things. And so he's that character that he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy. I've never read like a morally gray. I'm assuming that's what it is. I want the Let's check the definition of morally gray characters. I wonder if I can find it. So Urban Dictionary says morally gray is a character who does too much bad to be a good character, yet too much good to be a bad character. So he's kind of like in between, which is definitely Zayd, because he is killing people, which is bad, but he's killing people because they are doing really horrible things to women and children, which is a good thing that he's fighting that and trying to stop that. So yeah, so I guess, so Zayd would be considered a morally gray. I have never read a book with a morally gray character, because that's one of the reasons why I'm reading this book, is because I've never touched in like a dark romance or a morally gray type character. So I can definitely see Zayd as that type of categorization. So I don't know how I feel about him. I like him, but I don't like him. So I'm kind of stuck in that weird situation. So within the story so far, there's kind of like 3 things happening. The first thing happening is the situation with Addie and Zayd. Like Addie's morally trying to figure out how she feels about Zayd, given that he's a stalker, but she's really drawn to him and she doesn't quite know how she feels. So there's that storyline of Addie trying to figure out what she wants and how she feels about Zayd. Then there's the Zayd fighting the people who are being horrible to women and children. I really don't want to say the words. I really don't know if I can. Like, I don't want YouTube to strike this. So there's a situation happening where Zayd is trying to fight all of the bad stuff that is happening to women and children by other humans. So there's that. And then there's this other part. Actually, there's 4 pieces. There's a lot going on with this story. So the third part is the like society that is kind of behind a lot of these situations that Zayd is trying to fight against, is now looking like they are targeting Addie. Like, they want to get her. Like, something is happening with her. Like, she was specifically targeted, and I don't know why. I think it has something to do with her grandmother, but I'm not sure. But I don't know. But then the fourth piece is trying to figure out what happened to her grandmother, because her great-grandmother had a stalker and was brutally murdered, and the case is like a cold case. And so we're slowly getting like these letters that her great-grandmother wrote like in a journal, and Addie is trying to solve and figure out what's going on with her great-grandmother and who killed her, because since she had a stalker, Addie feels like, you know, that's a reason why if her stalker killed her, then that gives her reasoning to say she can't be with Zaid because Zaid is her stalker. And so if her great-grandmother got killed by her stalker, then that's kind of set in stone that she can't do this with Zaid because she doesn't want to follow the same footsteps. So there's 4 things happening within this book, and it's slowly unraveling. And this is going to have a second book, so I know it's going to end in a cliffhanger, and I'm going to go ahead and predict it now. I think because the next book is called Hunting Adeline, so this is haunting, like ghosts, like her great-grandmother's ghost is kind of haunting her, I think. Hunting Adeline is the second one, and what I think is going to happen is at the very last piece of this book, Addie is going to be taken. She's going to be kidnapped by the society, and the next book is going to be Zaid hunting Adeline to get her back, and then him also hunting the people who took her. Prediction. That's what's going to happen. We're going to go ahead and keep reading. I'm at 91%, so I know it's going to happen soon. I've only got like 50 pages, so I'm going to try to record me reading just so I can see my reaction, or you can see my reaction to what is happening. But surprisingly, I really do like this book, minus the little 6-year-old who just came into the scene. I don't care for that, but I do like this book. So we're going to keep reading and see what's going to happen. So Zaid is at the dinner, and he's trying to find a way to get the little girl to safety, and I'm reacting because she's so scared, and all I can think about is my little girl in that same situation. So if this would have happened earlier in the book, I definitely would have stopped, because I didn't want to have this happen while I'm reading it a bunch. So I'm at 93%. So I know he's going to get her out. Hopefully he can get her out safely, but we will see. So I wanted to let you know what I'm reacting to. So just finished Haunting Adeline, and I'm definitely going to be picking up the second book. It's definitely ends in a cliffhanger. Something happens to Addie. It looks like Max is coming back to get her, but I'm curious if Max is either involved in the society, or if it just happens to be a coincidence that Max, who was the new mob boss that showed up earlier in the story, if he's actually involved, or if it's just a coincidence that another person named Max is now kidnapping Addie. I knew she was gonna be kidnapped, so I knew that was gonna happen no matter what, because the next book is called Hunting Adeline, so obviously someone is hunting her. So I knew she was going to get kidnapped, so that happened. But then with Zaid, that leaves off of the cliffhanger because someone put a gun to his head, and basically it sounds like he got backstabbed by someone in his circle during the whole initiation that he was trying to break up. So that ended. So he's gonna get out of it because he is I don't want to say the word. So he's definitely someone who can get out of very difficult situations. So I know he's gonna get out of it I'm assuming, my prediction is he's gonna get out of it, and then the next book is gonna be him trying to hunt Adeline down to find out who took her, while also hunting down the society and stopping that whole thing. So those are the 2 predictions for the next book. The story with the great-grandmother wrapped up really nicely. So that storyline is done. So going forward into book 3, we have Addie being kidnapped. We still have the society that Zaid is trying to bring down. I think the person who kidnapped Addie is actually part of the society. But if not, then there's a third centerpiece of the second book that is going to be Max somehow coming back into play, and it's going to be trying to defeat Max along with finding Addie and also bringing down the society. So a lot's gonna happen. I actually really did like this book, with the exception of the one time that I cried because of the little 5-year-old or 6-year-old, which you saw the clip of. Another 5 and 6-year-old girl came into play at the initiation at the very, very end of the book, but she got out okay. Everybody has gone, all of the little kids have gotten out okay. So that's a good thing. But that was the only part of the book that I did not like. I did actually think about this book while I was not reading it. At dinner time, I was thinking about the book. Before bed, I ended up reading until 1 a.m., forcing myself to not read anymore because I was getting into the book. So it's definitely something that I enjoyed. I did not think I was going to enjoy. I honestly thought I was going to DNF it because I was unsure how the triggers were going to play out in this book. But I actually did enjoy it, and I will be picking up the second book. I don't know star-wise if what I would rate it. So it's not a 5-star because I don't think I would ever go back to reading this book, but I would also recommend this book if people can handle the triggers, because it's a very action-packed book with a lot of storylines happening, but it's definitely something that you have to have an acquired taste for just because of those triggers. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to give this probably a 4.5. My gut feeling is a 4.5. Things change with my star ratings because I have an immediate reaction at the end of the book as to what I want to rank it. But then those sometimes change as time goes on, because if I end up rating it a 4.5, and then if I'm still thinking about this book weeks later, then that means it's much higher. It's probably more of a 5-star book, because a lot of the books that I do read that are not 5-star books are I read it, it was good, and I put it away and I don't think about it again. The books that I continuously think about after I've read it, that's more of a 5-star. So right now it's going to be a 4.5. I am planning on reading the next book. I might end up reading it next month though, just because I don't want, the next book is not on my TBR, 1. 2, I want to take a break from the morally gray, because while I do like Zaid, kind of, I like his character because he is trying to do good in the world, but then he has a really twisted way of acting toward Addie. But I do like his character now, and I want to read more about him, but I definitely want to take a break, and I'll probably read the next book in August. So that is my thought on Haunting Adeline. It was definitely good. I finished it, so that's always a positive and a plus for me. And I'm going to be reading the next one. So with that, if you have read this book, what are your thoughts? Did you like it? Do you actually like to read morally gray characters? Are you someone who likes that type of MMC? Or are you kind of like me, where I'm an optimist and I like happy endings and I like characters that are funny or even grumpy characters? I'm not a morally gray character person currently. This will be the first book I've read that has a morally gray character. I think I mentioned that earlier. But if you have read this, did you like it? What did you rank it? And did you read the second book? Is the second book better than the first book? Or is the first book better than the second book? I'm curious. Like I said, I'm going to read the second book. I'm going to give me some time to read other more pleasant books, and then I'll come and pick the second book back up. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.